The word gospel means good news. And sometimes there's a lot of confusion because we hear the gospel and we know that the gospel, meaning good news, does not imply easy news. There's a difference. And the commitments that the gospel requires of us are not easy. A commitment to one person for life involves effort. It involves a reliance on the power of God and on each other. It involves an intensity of life. In fact, I had a wedding today at Walsh for two of my former students. And I heard them say before me, "Until death do us part." That teaching of Jesus is interpreted in the Catholic Church very strictly. And sometimes it is most difficult to accept and to follow. Jesus doesn't give in. Jesus absolutely does not give on that. It's a hard teaching to accept. And somehow we can't play with that and say, well, Jesus really didn't mean it. Some reason Jesus did mean that very much. So what is the answer to dealing with all of that as a Christian community, as people living in a very real world where sometimes relationships work and sometimes relationships don't work? How do we do all of that? I think the purpose of Jesus interpreting the scriptures today is not merely a commentary just on marriage, but rather a part of a bigger picture. And Jesus reminds us that marriage itself is a sacrament. It is a sign. It's a sign of stability. It's a sign of love. It's a sign of care. That's what it's intended to be. A sign of love, a sign of care, a sign of stability. It's meant to exist so that in all of our relationships, we're reminded, when I see a married couple, my goal is, and my hope is, that I see within them a sign of what all of our relationships should be. They should be loving, they should be caring, and they should be a part of stability, a part of our stability. Our relationships don't end with a whip. Our relationships just don't end as a community of God's people. Every person on this earth should be able to grow in a sense of security, a sense of faithfulness, men and women, friendships, community, nations, world, and all the environment. Why? Because we know that no matter what the relationship, unfaithfulness, abuse, indifference, war, hate, racism, all diminishes the dignity and the value and the well-being of our lives as God's people on this earth. So marriage becomes a visible sign for the community, and marriage should challenge us. Tomorrow we celebrate the anniversary of someone who's celebrating their 67th anniversary of being married. It's a challenge. It's a challenge for me. Challenge for me to keep loving, to keep caring, to keep giving of myself. Because some days you want to walk away, don't you? Some days you just want to walk away from it all. The challenge of loving, living in relationships, having joy, and also knowing that there's always a cross there too. You know, we can't, I've told you many times, you can't bypass Jerusalem. You can't bypass the cross. And so what we gather here for today is we gather here to commit ourselves as a community to each other. we commit ourselves for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. So we have an obligation toward each other and our responsibility toward each other. And so the teaching of Christ is not just about divorce, but it's a teaching about life in community and in relationship. No one of us is called to bear the gospel all by ourselves, to carry the burden of that, the weight of it, the challenges of the gospel. We're called to do that in a community, for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health, until death does us part. God bless you.
Amen.